Okay. So hello everyone. I'm Charles Dujeu from Pydio, and today I want to highlight a new feature we introduced in our latest major release, which was Pydio 7, which is called PydioBooster. So quick reminder, you probably already know our product, but just very briefly, so we are another open source sync and share solution created a couple of years ago now. We used to be called Edge Explorer, and we provide the full feature one would expect, like web and mobile browser access, sync for Windows, Mac, Linux, all sort of sharing possibilities from public links with protection, without protection, to inter-user sharing, to federated sharing, as we implemented the OCM specification, and we can share with OwnCloud or Nextcloud instances, for example. And we are storage agnostic, so we can be speaking with many type of storage. Our server is written in PHP, so as of now it's requiring 5.6, and the clients are using various technologies from Python for the sync to the native mobile languages, Swift and Java. So we love PHP. We know it's never been a very glamour language, but it's very mature. The last major version of PHP brought very high improvements in terms of performances and make PHP like hype again. We have been implemented a lot of PSRs, so PHP standard recommendation, to make the code really up to date. And what we love is that it's easily hackable. It can be deployed very easily on like 99.9% servers on the planet. And as an open source project, it's really nice to have an easily hackable language to have new developers and contributors easily dropping in. And basically, it's really a good choice for managing structured data. But we know all that it has some limitations, namely like writing and reading files, which we are doing in sync and share solution. It's always had some limitations, some CPU hogging, blocking. As it's a scripting language, it can be blocking requests. Sending a server to clients push is also not really adapted for scripting language. And same for long-running operation requests that can reach timeouts or memory limits. So this has been, we all here PHP user, we have been deploying treasures of imagination to fix these issues in the past years. Namely, of course, optimizing the code wherever possible, trying to delegate some tasks to the server. In Pydio, we've been starting very soon to very early to delegate copy and zip and operation like that to the native tools that are generally here. Adding many caching layers, and as was presented a lot in the last couple of days, scaling nodes horizontally or vertically, but generally horizontally, and adding more nodes with a scalable and HR architecture. But still, we were not really happy with that, and we were asking ourselves, okay, it's 2016, what could we do to improve even on a simple node, improve performances and try to go around the bottlenecks. So let's have a look at maybe microservices. Could we provide more direct access to the storage without going through PHP directly? could we use another language? For the real-time push approach, generally WebSocket implementation are very widespread in Node.js. Okay, is it an option? And also, more generally speaking, we really saw that deploying Pydio is just needing PHP. But if you want to make it really a smooth deployment, at one point you have to deploy a cache server, cron tab, set up a cron tab to do some operation, etc., etc. So you do have to put additional services around. And as we support Windows Server, it was always like, okay, how do you do on Linux? How do you do on Windows, etc. So shall we rewrite the whole code? No, we can't. It's too long. Drop PHP or add another language. So finally, we ended up going on Golang, on Go language, and we wrote a small companion, a small tool that is still optional. It's not mandatory, but it will be able to run as a kind of proxy for uploads and downloads. So it can write directly to the storage and read from the storage. It will act as well as a WebSocket server and communicate and provide a messaging, instant messaging service using NSQ, which is a protocol that was provided by Bitly. And of course, it's open source. So why did we choose this language? It's like modern server-oriented language. It was developed and supported by Google, which make it like here to stay probably. One very interesting feature is that it's dependent. It provides, when it's compiled, it's a dependency-free binary. So and it's providing also cross-compiling. So on a Linux box, we can build PydioBooster for all platforms, and it will be really a simple binary without any dependency and work out of the box. The learning curve still is not so hard, and which was good to stay in our like hackable philosophy. It's of course mature. We already had a look at Golang like 2 or 3 years ago when rewriting our new sync client, but there was still like some very important libraries that were not really ready. Now, as you know, Docker is written with this language, and we even see like storage solutions that are emerging, like Minio, which is a very interesting product. And the language provides a lot of really nice features. Amongst of them, one of them is concurrency. So we really found out that allowing a Go microservice and our existing PHP server could provide the best of both worlds. So if I just so if I come back to this architecture, as you see, for example, for the upload, we want the clients to upload directly to the booster proxy. And for that, we have a small protocol. As we wanted it to be really still optional, for the client, it must be transparent except for the URL. It must be really transparent whether it's uploading to the standard PHP server or to the booster. So when an upload is coming in, the booster will authenticate to the PHP server. It will receive the real physical location of the storage. So currently we have only implemented FS, access to FS and access to S3, compatible storage. And so it will read the request, pipe directly the data to the storage, and when it's finished, it will again contact the PHP server to get the response and send the response. That way, it stays very thin, and we don't reinvent all the format, the response format, etc. It's always the PHP server that sends the response to the client. Here, a small thing is that you can see that one of the advantages of Go, again, is that we can start reading the request directly, even if we are not yet authenticated, and as soon as we get our location, we can start writing to the storage. And basically, it's the same for the download. What's interesting for the download is that for the PHP server point of view, it's very similar to what we used to use was like extension like extend file, which were like Nginx and Apache extension to delegate downloads to Nginx or Apache. So the benefits of that, the WebSocket having a really easy and stable WebSocket server is very interesting because it drastically reduced the load on the server. What we saw was that the polling operation, all the sync client always polling the server to get news about the last changes. Even if they were polling to get nothing in return, it was an unnecessary load. And replacing that with a WebSocket, so a server client push, is much more efficient. And the web UI is also much more responsive for the user, which is something that is not detailed because it allows us to send more and more stuff in the background. And with our new task manager, this is providing really a very good feedback to the user. So when I copy a huge folder in another location, it goes in the background in the server, but the user has a small window with a progress, and all that is very reactive, and that's very important for the users. So downloads and uploads again are much more efficient, and one advantage of this architecture again is that it's not mandatory, and for people that just can't deploy this tool, Pydio is still working as always. So I think that's it. If you want to know more about the new feature of Pydio 7, you can go on our website, and I will be happy to get feedback.
Okay, thank you very much. Very interesting. So, are there any questions?
Do you have in your roadmap to move more components to different services?
Yes, definitely. Yes, definitely. Now we have this one. What I didn't say is that even this this PydioBooster can be started already. We have 3 services in it. So the upload and download proxy, the WebSocket, and the scheduler. I didn't say. And all these services can already be started differently, so we could split them on different machines, for example, and we want to add more and more like that. But again, really keeping the database management on the Pydio server side, and putting caching and stuff like that in the Go.
Thank you.
Kuba.
Okay, so thank you very much for this presentation. I'm really happy to see that you're doing this architecture change. As you know, in Sandbox we dropped PHP from our data handling path 2 years ago. But we are currently actually investigating a very similar architecture change for our service. Actually, also, we are investigating very similar technologies. So I'd be really curious to stay in touch with you on your experiences.
Yeah.
And if you really, you know, when you, I would really be interested in really seeing when you put much more load to it and you have some production experience with this, how well this approach works. But I think this is probably an approach that also other PHP solutions should at least look into.
Thanks, Kuba.
Okay.
So I'm interested as well on the part for the booster. So is it possible to scale it out as well, or currently just one single component?
So for the moment, we in a distributed architecture, for the moment we have to put one booster per node because we didn't implement the load balancing. So we put like one booster per node, and the load balancer is sending the requests like on the PHP server and on the booster. But clearly we are also working on that and to even add more components in the booster to manage distributed architecture. And maybe to the NSQ protocol that we use for messaging is providing discovery. So maybe we want to, we are digging on that path as well to provide, to finally have the booster be the node discovery and really something like that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
So let's thank Charles.